However, due to budgetary constraints, there are teacher shortages in both primary and secondary level. For instance, Mandera, Turkana, Wajir, West Pokot, and Garissa counties have the highest teacher shortages at the primary school level, while Kakamega, Bungoma, Homa Bay, Trans Nzoia, Bomet, and Siaya counties have the highest teacher shortages at the secondary school level. To address teacher shortages, the Teacher Service Commission has implemented the following measures to ensure that that gap is covered. There is the annual teacher recruitment plan, where under the Commission strategic plan, there is an obligation to recruit 22,374 additional teachers annually to progressively address teacher shortages. Accordingly, the Commission submits annual budgetary requests to the National Treasury to support teacher recruitment. Number 2, they engage teacher interns. In addition to recruitment of permanent and pensionable teachers, the Commission annually seeks budgetary allocation to engage 20,000 teacher interns who provide immediate staffing support while awaiting full-time employment. Number 3, to optimize the utilization of available teachers, the Commission continuously monitors and implements staff balancing measures by transferring teachers from well-staffed schools to those with high teacher shortages. And number 4, the Commission has initiated innovative teaching methods, that is live streaming lessons to supplement face-to-face teaching in schools with significant teacher shortages, particularly in remote areas. Part 3 of that question, Mr. Speaker, noting the right of every learner to quality education, the government has put in place measures such as positing of recruited teachers to junior school and deployment of qualified primary school teachers to junior school to ensure that all junior schools are assigned teachers. Steps are taken to ensure that where new schools are established, teachers are promptly deployed. The government has put in place the following measures to address instances where new junior schools are established. 1, deployment of qualified primary school teachers to junior school. The Teacher Service Commission continues to deploy qualified and willing primary school teachers to junior school secondary to help bridge the staffing gaps. The deployment portal remains open to facilitate applications from eligible primary school teachers who meet the requirements for junior school teaching positions. And number 2, staff balancing within the sub-counties and counties. The Teacher Service Commission conducts periodic staff balancing to redistribute available teachers with a view to rationalize teacher resources within the same sub-county or county. Part 4 of that question, Mr. Speaker, P1 teachers who completed the P1 teacher training colleges before 2019 are not employed by TSC, were not competency-based curriculum compliant. From 2019, the TSC began retooling teachers on CBC so that they acquire the pedagogies required for CBC teachers. In 2019, the unemployed teachers began undertaking a 9-month upgrading program using a curriculum prepared by the KICD and did an assessment which was coordinated by NEC. This upgrade program will be continued up to 2028 until all the teachers are upgraded to CBC compliant status. In order to deal with the teacher preparedness on competency-based education, the Teacher Service Commission has put in place the following measures. 1, retooling and professional development of the teachers. The government, through the Teacher Service Commission, has retooled teachers who will handle grade 1 to 9 in competency-based curriculum and competency-based assessment. The Commission continues the retooling of teachers on CBC during holidays to ensure they are fully capacity built for effective implementation of the new curriculum. The model of training is Smart Cascade, and it involves the training of master trainers who then train the trainers of trainers and thereafter offer professional support training during the face-to-face training of teachers in the select avenues in the county. The cascade model is master trainer down to trainer of trainers and then to teachers. The retooling of teachers involves 172 national master trainers for regular, 58 for special needs education drawn from TSC, KICD, NEC, KEMIS, and MASTEA, and the Ministry of Education, KISE, and teacher training colleges, and 1,538 trainers of trainers for regular, and 196 for special needs drawn from different teacher training colleges, curriculum support officers, and Ministry of Education quality assurance officers for both regular and special needs. over 229,292 public and private primary school teachers and 60,642 junior school teachers have been trained to implement the competency-based curriculum. There is a table that we've indicated in our report that shows the number of primary school teachers that have been trained to implement the competency-based curriculum. The total number stands for curriculum support officers, regular and special needs. We have 1,411. For CBC champions, teachers, regular and SNE, we have 2,874. Then we have head teachers, regular and special needs education, who are 23,324. Head teachers in private institutions, 5,833. And for teachers who are regular and special needs in public institutions, we have teachers for grade 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are 70,652. Teachers for grade 5 and 6, there are 93,688. And for private schools, we have for grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, there are 31,510. Total number is 292 teachers. For junior school, the number of teachers who have been retooled, as I've said, is 60,642 teachers, made up of 29,374 male and 31,272 female, are shown below. We have a table there. Further, through semester, Mr. Speaker, junior school teachers have been capacity built on science, technology, English, and mathematics subjects. This is to ensure that they are imparted with appropriate pedagogies in the handling of STEM subjects under the competency-based curriculum. In anticipation of the first transition to senior school next year, the Teacher Service Commission has embarked on the retooling of senior school teachers in the various pathways to be offered at senior school. In addition to their foregoing, the government, through the Teacher Service Commission, is also offering ongoing professional development opportunities to keep teachers updated on the latest trends, techniques, and research in art and sports, social sciences, and STEM. The teachers are also provided with continuous professional development opportunities to keep them updated on the latest trends and techniques in the sector. It is important to note, Mr. Speaker, that the current pre-service programs for teachers in the primary teaching training colleges is now implemented using a competency-based curriculum since 2021. The same is being done to university students taking education program. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Memusi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, I want to tell the CS, without fear of contradiction, that these books are not reaching the schools. He has stated that from 2018 to the financial year 2023-24, they've been distributing books. But I can tell the CS that I have schools that have not received books for the last 5 years. So I'm wondering, Honorable Speaker, whether the CS, when he receives these questions from members, whether he gets information from his education directors from respective counties, or he gets these replies from technocrats sitting in headquarters. Because the information that is giving to members is not in touch with what is on the ground. Honorable Speaker, I want the CS to answer on that. Number two, I'm very surprised that Kajiado is not on the list of counties with acute teacher shortages. And the main reason for this, Honorable Speaker, is we have lazy government employees who, when they are supposed to collect information, they don't go beyond town centers. Kajiado is a very unique county. If you go to Kajiado West and visit Kiserian, you have visited an urban part of that constituency. But if you go ahead and go to Mosiro and go to Magadi, that's a rural part of Kajiado West. If you go to Kajiado Town and visit schools in Kajiado Town around the area, you have not seen the rural of Kajiado Central. You need to go to schools like Sere Primary, you need to go to schools like Kiltirpen that border Tanzania. Now, the question is...
Avoid the temptation to make a speech or debate.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I need to be understood where I'm coming from. So the question is, is this information that the CS is giving us, is it from the ground or is it from technocrats from headquarters here in Nairobi? That is the question.
Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me also to ask a supplementary question aligning to GSS teachers. Is the Cabinet Secretary aware that in many schools, GSS schools, to the very base they have got 3 teachers for grades 7, 8, and 9? And is he aware that in some schools the streams are more than 1? And is he aware that at times teachers are required to teach subjects they have never trained in, which makes it a complete, the students, we're just wasting the students. Thank you, Speaker.
Mama Zamzam.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Swali langu kwa waziri, hizi shule ambazo wamejenga juzi za grade 9 JCC bado hawajapata mahabara ama laboratories. Na sio hizo peke yake, hata kuna sekondari ambazo pia walikuwa hawana kabisa laboratories, wengine wanakuja kuomba katika ofisi yangu ni wajengee, na pia wale ambao wanazo hawana pia vile vifaa ndani ya labs. Umefanya jukumu gani kuweza kuhakikisha kuwa wanafunzi wanapata hizi services kule shuleni? Asante sana.
Bensouda.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have 2 questions. One.
Only one. Joy Rider, only one question.
Okay, I'll conjoin them in a minute. One, could the minister inform this House the level of staff establishment and ratio of teachers, because some schools were categorized under they are adequately, some constituencies are adequately having secondary school teachers, while others are not, are having below. I was concerned because I know several schools in Homa Bay County that are totally understaffed. So what is the staff establishment? What are the ratios of school? And what is the level that is required? 2, previously the government has utilized a lot of money in constructing schools by the Ministry of Education, that is the laboratories, before the JSS came. I've moved around and some schools, particularly I went to a George Agolo War secondary school in Karachuonyo. The classroom is dilapidated, and that is just less than 2 years down the line. Could we get data on the Ministry of Education spending in constructing schools to support these other programs, including the JSS? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The information that we are submitting is collected from both the ground and the headquarters. So normally they will be collected from the ground, it is sent to the headquarters, and then it's collected for us to submit to this House. So it is done at both levels. And if there are schools that are indicated to have been supplied books and the books are not there, that is an action that needs to be taken if we have specific schools. Because we have been also to some schools in Kajiado where there are books, but there could be other schools. If there are truly no books that have been submitted and the record shows they were submitted, that is something that we can take action on. But the particular policy is that there should be 1 book per student per core subject. And that's why when we're talking about even grade 9, we did start distribution of 9.9 books from October 2024, leading to the grade 9 that was able to transit to grade 9 in 2025. In terms of the teachers, being 3 teachers, but it is true that there, and I've indicated it, that we do not have the optimal number of teachers in each school. So we are making do with the number that we have, but we are also working with TSC to retool the teachers that are there so that they are able to teach the subjects and they're able to meet the requirements of the students as we work towards employing more to ensure that we have enough. That's why we said we have employed 76,000 teachers in the last 1 or 2 years, and we continue making efforts to employ more depending on availability of budget in order for us to have the optimal number as we move forward. But we are doing everything possible, including retooling of the teachers who are there to be able to support the JSS classrooms. With respect to the staffing levels, as I've indicated, the TSC uses the CBE to staff the students, to staff the schools by teachers. And they do rationalization where we realize that maybe there are more teachers in one place than the other, and as I've indicated, they then do the inter-county transfers to ensure that we have a level of equality, a level of equity in those schools. And with respect to the question of laboratories, we are working towards building more laboratories, and beginning July, we have a plan to build another 1,600 laboratories in these schools, and we are working towards ensuring that we use every method possible, including virtual learning, to ensure that the students have actually interacted with the laboratory or laboratory requirements in those schools. The dilapidated infrastructure is an issue that concerns the government. That's why we've continued to work towards improving that infrastructure depending on availability of resources. The last 2 years, the ministry has not gotten any infrastructural funds to be able to put into the infrastructure of building of classrooms. We did do the classrooms for grade 9 on a fund that we received from the World Bank. That's how we were able to do the 16,000 classrooms for grade 9. But we continue working towards ensuring that we improve these facilities even with our partners. Thank you, and I submit.
Kazim Tandaza. Question 038.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Could the Cabinet Secretary, Roman 1, provide the number? I'm repeating the number. That is the question as it stands to answer. The number of qualified teachers trained to teach students in the select pathways provided for in senior secondary school under the CBC. Question, Honorable Minister, the number in the different pathways as you stand to answer. 2, state how many, how many, this is again the number of qualified teachers that have been posted to the Matuga constituents, posted to Matuga constituents and Kwale County. And 3, outline the measures put in place by the ministry to have enough qualified teachers for creative arts and sports. This being the other pathway, this country has a lot of talent in that area. So I'm still asking for the number of qualified teachers for creative arts and sports in all the schools in Kenya. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Let the minister answer the question before we have joyriders. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To prepare for senior school, the government has begun retooling a total of 131,246 senior school teachers to transition the students to senior school. In order to mitigate the challenges of handling the new learning areas and technical subjects, the Ministry and the Teacher Service Commission will work together to ensure the following. 1, the Kenya School of TVET will enroll and prepare the diploma technical teachers who have a mean grade of C+ and who have done 2 technical subjects to undergo through a pedagogical course and other education courses required to qualify to teach at senior school. Number 2, universities will enroll students in 2 technical subjects and pedagogical content knowledge with a strong basis in education. The diploma technical teachers with KCSE mean grade C+ and 2 teaching subjects in which they have scored a mean grade of C+ and trained adequately in pedagogical knowledge will be absorbed by the Commission to enable them to teach effectively at senior school. Part 2 of that question. By the financial year 2024-2025, the Teacher Service Commission had recruited and posted a total of 1,318 teachers to junior school, both permanent and pensionable, as well as interns to various sub-counties in Kwale County. The allocation per sub-county is as follows: Kinango, 244, Matuga, 212, Lungalunga, 301, Msambweni, 190, Samburu, 279, Shimba Hills 92, total 1,318. Mr. Speaker, creative arts and sports is one of the learning areas in junior school, grade 7 to 9. In creative arts and sports, students explore various creative expressions and physical activities, including composing, rhythm and melody, athletics, handball, football, storytelling, and Kenya folk songs. The Teacher Service Commission is providing qualified teachers for creative arts and sports for junior school by recruiting and deploying the available music, fine arts, and physical education teachers. The ministry, through the Diploma Secondary Education Teacher Training Colleges, that is Kagumo, Lugari, and Kibabi, is training teachers specifically on the performing arts and visual arts learning areas. These teachers will complete their training in July 2025 and will be vital for bridging any shortages of the creative and art teachers in the country. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Shimba. Sorry, Shimba, hold on. Changamwe, take your seat. Let's give the owner of the question the first bite.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I don't know whether the CS read my question and whether he is answering the question. Question 038 of 2025. Honorable Speaker, my question, Roman 1, was the number of qualified teachers trained to teach students in select pathways and the answer does not give the number. That was the question. The gist of this question was the number trained in the different pathways. He has gone to elaborate, give us theories, and which is not related to the question. So in case he can't get the numbers now, is it possible for this question to be deferred so that he can come with the correct answer to my question? Roman 2 was how many qualified teachers? He has given a number of 212, which I don't dispute, but to answer that question, I expected him to say, out of the 212, this number are for arts, this number are for STEM, and this number is for performing arts and sports, because that was the gist of the CBC, to get those three pathways. There is no answer to that question, Honorable Speaker. He goes on to state that TVET will enroll. And we know by next year, this senior secondary school will be, the students will be in grade up to 9, grade 10. But up to this juncture, he's talking of TVET will enroll. He's talking of diploma teachers with C+ will be absorbed. So, numbers, Honorable Speaker, and I think this question will only be answered if the CS will come up with the numbers. Even on the last item, paragraph 47 of his answer, when he talks of Kagumo, Lugari, specifically on the performing arts and visual arts, which was the gist of my question, he still says they will, without even giving numbers. Vis-a-vis the demand of this, the schools in senior secondary school and what my question was asking. Honorable Speaker, if we cannot get the numbers, I will request that this question is deferred to answer the specific questions that I had asked. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Omar Mwinyi.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Ask
Thank you.
your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, listening to the questions which you normally ask whenever ministers come here, I would feel it would be proper for the minister to prepare a list for all the constituencies in the country to indicate the number of teachers that they have, the shortages, so that at least the purpose of that would be to correct those anomalies, so that we create equity, so that every constituency gets a fair share of the teachers. Otherwise, I'm sure next month another member would ask the same question for his constituency, yet the ministry will get away with those type of answers where we still need some more information. So I think they better print a list of all the constituencies that we have in the country with the teachers, the shortages, so that the TSC can then make what we call affirmative action to correct the anomalies that are there within the ministry. And Mr. Speaker, since the minister is here, I would also want to get it from him. How are you dealing with the principals who are still refusing to give the certificates to the learners who had actually completed schools? Thank you.
Cabinet Secretary. You'll respond to those ones. Question number 3825 requires data.
Yes.
Cabinet Secretary, if you don't have the data,
Thank you.
The provision of the data can, upon request, be delivered to a date we may specify. Kindly respond.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for that guidance. It is true that I have not sort of stipulated the number of teachers in each pathway. I've given a general number, that's 131,246. And I've also given the 1,318 without stipulating which pathways, which teachers are in which pathways. I beg to be allowed to go and redo that response so that I can stipulate each particular pathway with the correct number of teachers, both nationally and in the constituency and the Matuga constituency and Kwale County, so that we can have that stipulated and it outlined. And with respect to the question of dealing with these globally, so that we can do all the constituencies and actually get the data indicating the number of teachers, what they are teaching, what they are qualified for, and the shortages, so that each constituency then can pick, we can have a global view. I seek for more time to be able to submit that data so that we can then interrogate each particular constituency as and when we are able to do that. So if I'm allowed, we'll work with the TSC to provide that data so that it is completely clear. I submit.
Yeah, honorable members, for the convenience of the House, that data, in case it will be taking long for the Cabinet Secretary to return to the plenary, can be delivered, if it is available in good time, to the relevant committee, the Departmental Committee on Education, which can then invite all members to actually scrutinize and ensure the information you need in terms of how teachers are allocated to your constituencies is represented. Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Question number... Yes, there is the directive you issued, Cabinet Secretary, about the release of academic certificates by various schools.
Actually, that question is in here, but I can say the following. The directive that we gave to the principals is based under Article 53 of the Constitution and the Kenya National Examinations Act 2012, Section 10, subsection, I think, 2. And it simply says nobody is allowed to hold any certificate belonging to a student. And no institution and no person. So we gave that directive and we issued a circular to follow that directive. A number of principals have complied. A number have not complied. We gave them 14 days, which is expiring next week. After that, our county directors of education and the sub-county directors of education will collect the data and we'll do two things. One, we'll take disciplinary action against those principals who have not complied through the TSC. Yes. But more seriously, we will undertake a legal process against those teachers. The reason is this: all the certificates that they are holding bear the name of the students. They do not bear the name of the parents. no school has an agreement, a contractual obligation with the student to pay school fees. They have a contractual obligation with the parents. So you are holding a certificate belonging to somebody else to secure a debt of somebody else. So we'll take some legal action, which we are still working on, to ensure that those who've been holding these certificates for whatever reason, and they told me that these directives have been given even from the Moi era, but this time they'll pay personally once we do the quantification of the loss that the students have undergone. Because when you hold the certificate of the students, for example, currently they are supposed to be applying to COOPS to get to university. When you are holding it, they will not be able to get to university. So you're actually killing their life. And you have no control, you have no contract. Number two, there is no, it is the government that pays for examinations. So nobody has, you have not paid for the examination that leads to the certificate being issued. So with this time, we will take action, and we'll take serious action against those principals. And we've agreed with the Teacher Service Commission that they'll take serious disciplinary action, and we as a ministry will take legal action on behalf of the students. That's what we are going to do.
I know that is a very crucial matter for all members of parliament. I think the point the CS is making is that it is wrong for any institution to hold back the life and the progress of any student. Also, if you consider that the majority of them are children, and therefore fall under the law he has quoted and Article 53 of the Constitution. Honorable CS, that is a matter you are passionate about. Let me say you've done well to communicate it to the public, and I hope all principals are watching. Please follow it through with action. Honorable members, let us not overflog it. Let us wait for action from the Cabinet Secretary. Question number 039 of 2025, the question by the member for Kitunguri, the Honorable Gadoni Wamuchomba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 39, but before so, Speaker, with your permission, allow me to just stress to the Minister that it is imperative for him to always pronounce statements in this House that are followed by actions. I refer to his session in November last year when we inquired about the preparedness of the JSS grade 9 classrooms. And he came here and assured us that the classes are going to be ready in January. From where I sit in Githunguri constituency, we still have many schools that still don't have those classes. So he gave me some level of comfort in November.
The Honorable Wamuchomba.
And therefore I would want, yes, Speaker.
Kindly ask the question on the order paper.
Thank you, sir.
Then the matter you are raising can be raised in the context of other relevant questions.
I oblige, thank you. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide the total amount of capitation funds disbursed by the Ministry of Education per school in the financial year 2024-2025 in Githunguri constituency, and the number of students per school who have benefited from the funds? Part 2, state the criteria used by the ministry to suspend students from NEMIS and safeguards in place to ensure that eligible students do not get suspended in the future. Part 3, outline the total number of students in public primary and secondary schools in the Githunguri constituency who have been suspended from NEMIS since the beginning of the year 2024 academic year. Part 4, provide the current status of student registration on NEMIS across public schools in the country. And Part 5, outline measures put in place, if any, to ensure smooth NEMIS operations and sufficient disbursement of funds to prevent future disruptions in learning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Part 1 of the question. Thus far, the sum of 13,200,000 13,265,471,000 has been disbursed to schools in Githunguri constituency as capitation under the free primary education program. The total amount of capitation per primary school in Githunguri constituency for financial year 2024-2025 is stipulated in the table below. My apologies, it is 13,265,471, not billion. There is a table that we've stipulated in our answer, and the number of schools go to a total of 53 schools. The number of students are various, like AK Magugu, term 1 was 266 students, term 2 was 283 students, and term 3, enrollment in term 3 was 266 students, enrollment in term 2 was 283. Like that, I've given that table. If I go through it, it will take too long. And that also is a position for high school. We have 38 schools in secondary schools. So it's 13 million plus. In the criteria used, Mr. Speaker, may I begin by clarifying that no learners are suspended from the National Education Management Information System, NEMIS. NEMIS was introduced to act as a source of reliable, real-time educational data. The data uploaded is then used in making important policy decisions, including the allocation of capitation to learners. It is a requirement that details of all learners enrolled in both public and private institutions be uploaded in NEMIS. In order to ensure the integrity of the data on NEMIS, the learners' birth certificates numbers are uploaded on the system so that each learner has a unique identifier. This ensures that there are no fictitious learners on the system. Since some parents are unable to promptly provide the birth certificates for their children, the ministry uses the NEC assessment numbers for learners in grade 3, 4, 5, and 6 so that they can use those to upload. However, the requirement for birth certificate is still retained for learners in grade 1 and 2. Learners whose details have been uploaded on NEMIS without a unique identifier are not considered for capitation since their existence cannot be verified. To ensure that eligible learners are funded, the ministry regularly requires their teachers to upload full learners' details on NEMIS. Number 2, identifies all learners whose full details have not been uploaded to alert the head teachers so that they can upload the details. Number 3, they hold regular sensitization meetings, both physical and online, with sub-county directors of education to equip them with skills for supervising the uploading of data on NEMIS by the schools in their areas of jurisdiction. Part 3 of that question, Mr. Speaker, as I've already stated, the ministry does not suspend learners from NEMIS. What happens is that the learners whose full details are not provided on NEMIS are highlighted on the system to signal the head teachers and county directors of education to provide the requisite information. Part 4, the number of basic education learners registered on NEMIS as at 1720 hours on 8th April 2025 stood at 6,774,565. Mr. Speaker, part 5 of that question, to ensure smooth NEMIS operations and seamless provision of capitation, the ministry takes the following measures. 1, regular digital skills training and capacity building initiatives to NEMIS users, including education managers, policymakers, field officers, heads of institutions, partners, and the community. Number 2, the regular and continuous updates and verification of students' bio details and accompanying school infrastructure needs. Number 3, enhancing systems integration between NEMIS and other systems in the education, including NEC and KICD Cloud, among others. And number 4, the provision of training to stakeholders on capitation requirements in NEMIS and early sensitization for data capture and updates. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Omuchomba.
Thank you, CS, for the for the response. However, I am not satisfied with your statement that no student has been suspended from NEMIS system from Githunguri constituency. This is backed by some facts that I can table on the floor of this house, that over 311 students as at 25th of March this year were not in the NEMIS system. The teachers complained that every time they try to return the student in the system, the students are highlighted and the system does not allow them back into the system. And that I can table as evidence, and therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would seek your indulgence on that issue. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the CS has said that the total number of public students in Githunguri that are receiving NEMIS funds, he has said that he has a schedule. I would love that he shares with me that schedule through you, Mr. Speaker, with your guidance, so that I can be able to disseminate information accordingly. Thank you.
The Honorable Catherine Omanyo. Wanted to joyride on this?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just had a concern. According to Vision 2030, by now we should be having equal opportunities to all children in Kenya. Equal, like education-wise, if any student goes to school, they should be assured that they will learn without being sent home for lacking fees. What is your plan in assuring that we do not have some students in Kenya who are always thrown out of class for lacking fees? And two, for us to also have smooth education, what are your plans to ensure that teachers or the headmasters, the principals of schools, run their programs smoothly without having to wait for a very long time, to the level some of us here MPs have to make some noise and the teachers also make some noise for any money to reach their banks for them to do any transactions. Then lastly, if you go to some schools in Kenya, some students and pupils still sit on the floor, or they sit on stones or logs of trees. Where on earth, in this time and age, should we still be observing that? Actually, I visited one in my county, and I was shocked that students still go through that, and yet they sit same exams just like any other privileged students. So again, I'm back on the equality question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Cabinet Secretary to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the 311 students that have not been returned back for one reason or another, I would urge the honorable member to share with us that information so that we can find out, because if they have met the requirements of the birth certificates or the number, the assessment number, they should be able to be uploaded back so that they can become part and parcel of that. So we need to know what would be the reason or the challenge that they have, so that we can handle that issue. We will be sharing, we've already shared the data. I think the clerk will share with you that data, and if there's any more information that you require, please let us know that we can coordinate and sort that out. On the question of equal opportunities, the head teachers are not allowed to send students home for lack of fees, because secondary and primary schools is funded by the government, unless it is the portion that relates to boarding that the parents pay. But otherwise, the guidelines from the ministry is that you do not send the students home, for example, for the delays in capitation, and that will answer the second part of that question. And we had indicated, in fact, last time there was a bit of a delay in the release of capitation, and we did urge the principals and the head teachers not to send the students home, and they obliged. And we normally work very closely with the Ministry of Treasury to ensure that the capitation is released on time. Last September, it was released 2 days before opening, so we did not have that challenge. But in January, there was a bit of a challenge. We had to do it even in installments. For the second term that is coming, we are already engaging with the Treasury, including this morning we had a meeting with Treasury to try and negotiate with them to ensure that we receive the capitation before the schools open. So it is that balancing act that we have to do because of the scarcity of resources to ensure that the money is in school so that there is no hardship for the teachers. It's an understandable challenge, but it's a challenge that is across the board that we are working very, very hard to ensure that maybe going forward it can be resolved. On the issue of the infrastructure relating to the children not having enough either desks or classrooms, this is a normal challenge that the government is facing. And as I said earlier, we are working very closely, including with members of parliament through the CDF. And thank you very much, by the way, members, because some of the institutions I've visited, you've done a very good job in support of our institutions in coming up with classrooms, buying desks, and supporting the students in those areas. So it is something that we are facing as a country, but we work every day to see that that problem is resolved. Thank you.
Yes, the next question is on the same subject matter. Why don't I allow the Honorable Simon Kingara to ask it, then we can have more joyriders stretch the matter. It's on the same subject matter, for the convenience of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for according me this opportunity to ask question number 40 of 2025, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Education. One, Mr. Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why Mutuya Primary School in Oiro constituency, despite being duly registered and having its learners onboarded on the NEMIS portal, has not received the free-day secondary education capitation funds allocated to the junior secondary schools? Mr. Speaker, number 2, can the Cabinet Secretary outline the measures being taken to ensure that Mutuya Primary School receives capitation fund to cater for the 242 students registered as junior secondary school learners? Finally, Mr. Speaker, can the Cabinet Secretary provide timelines for the release of the funds to facilitate the smooth operation of the school? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, capitation is provided to schools on the basis of NEMIS. Each junior school is required to do a requisition for a NEMIS code and fill in a capitation grant form application. The head teacher of an institution is expected to upload learners and bank accounts details on the NEMIS portal. In the case of Mutuya Primary School, the head teacher had not uploaded the bank account details by the time the capitation bank schedules were generated on the 6th of December 2024. The system could therefore not allocate funds to the institution. The head teacher had a meeting with the ministry officials on the 22nd of January 2025 and was advised on the necessary requirements. Following our guidance, Mr. Speaker, the head teacher has now uploaded all the necessary information about the school and learners on the NEMIS portal. The institution will therefore benefit from the capitation starting from next term. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Honorable Simon Kingara.
Thank you, CS, for the answer. But my question, noting that this money is to facilitate the school, what will happen that the term has lapsed now?
The Honorable Mulany.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to take a bite on part 1 of the question, particularly on capitation to junior secondary school. Mr. Speaker, can the minister tell us how much parents are required to pay in terms of school fees?
Honorable Mulanya, your question should be asked when the next question is raised. This one deals with the registration on NEMIS. So you just take back your seat when the next question by the Honorable Rueda Obo is asked. I'll give you the chance to ride over.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Dr. Wilbur Fosoundo.
Speaker, I just want the Cabinet Secretary, he might not have the information now, but he could go back and counter-check and take necessary action. If he is aware Milimani Primary School and Sirekeresi Primary School, Milimani Primary School and Sirekeresi Primary School in Funyula constituency, that got the registration certificate, I think it's called iPad, whatever they call it, sometimes early last year, and up to now, they have not been registered to receive capitation. And if we could expedite the process to ensure in the next disbursement, they have received that capitation. Secondly, Speaker, on the same matter, free-day secondary school education, what is the policy of the ministry as regards the school feeding program, where parents contribute towards feeding the day scholars in schools? What is the policy, and is there any set figure in that, on that score? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was trying to get the question on the Milimani school. I don't have that data, I don't have that information. If the honorable member could request the head teacher to write to us directly so that we can have those two head teachers, so that we could understand what the challenge is with respect to them being uploaded, so that we can then deal with it since registration has already taken place. On the school feeding program, the one that you are talking about is the arrangement between parents and the school with respect to day schools where they give money for lunch. There is no specific amount that the government says you need to pay X amount of money. But the policy is whether or not the parents pay for the school fee, that particular portion, the students should never be sent home for lack of that money or that payment of that money. That is the position. Because it's free primary, free secondary, that is an arrangement that is between the school and them, but you cannot send away the children because the parents have not paid for lunch.
Thank you. The Member of Parliament for Lamu East, the Honorable Captain Rueda Obo MP, to ask question number 41 of 2025.
Thank you.
Just a minute, Honorable Rueda. Honorable Simon Kingara, there is a matter not clarified.
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair, Mr. Speaker, sir. I think I was not answered on what will happen because now the money was supposed to have come, the school was going on, there's that deficit. Is there an reimbursement on the same?
Cabinet Secretary.
Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, there is no provision for reimbursement because they were not in the system, so it's not possible for us to, they'll have to continue from where it was. I know it might not be fair, but that is the position. Perhaps we'll relook at that and see what else we can do under different heads to resolve that particular issue. So, yeah.
The Honorable Rueda Obo to proceed and ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me opportunity to ask question 041/2025 to the Cabinet Secretary for Education. Could the Cabinet Secretary, 1, clarify whether secondary school in Lamu East constituency receive capitation for their repair, maintenance, and improvement of facilities in their schools? 2, provide a report on the utilization of fund by Kizingitini Secondary School in Lamu East constituency, particular to maintain the facilities in the schools. 3, state the measure taken by the ministry to ensure that maintenance and improvement of the schools property like classroom windows and those are done with the fund provided by the ministry.
The Honorable Cabinet Secretary to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the approved capitation grant for secondary schools is 22,244 per learner. For boarding schools, this amount is supplemented by household contributions that parents pay as boarding fees, also at prescribed rates. The breakdown of this approved amount in terms of unit cost is as follows. Number one, learning and teaching materials and exams, 4,144. Repair, maintenance and improvement, 5,000. Local travel and transport, administrative costs, electricity, water, conservancy, personal emolument, 9,400. Activity fees, 1,500. Medical and insurance, 2,000. And SIMASE, 200, making a total of 22,244. And you'll notice the component for repairs, maintenance, and improvement in the 22,244 is 5,000, so it is in there. The actual amount disbursed to schools every academic year, however, depends on the budget allocated by the National Assembly. The unit costs are prorated accordingly. Lamu East has 6 public secondary schools as follows: Pate Girls Secondary School, CU Secondary School, Faza Secondary School, Sheikh Msalamu Secondary School, Kizingitini Secondary School, and Kiunga Secondary School. All the 6 schools receive the free day secondary education funds, which includes the repair, maintenance, and improvement component. Part 2. Kizingitini Secondary School is situated in Kizingitini Village in Faza Division, Lamu East Sub-County. The school is a mixed-day secondary school bordering the Indian Ocean. The school is managed by a board of management led by Mr. Omar Sheyumbe. The day-to-day operations are run by Mr. James Mwema, who is the principal, assisted by Mr. Joel Moki, the deputy principal. In the year 2022-2023, the amount disbursed for infrastructure was 1.4 million. The amount budgeted for infrastructure was 1.4 million. 2023-2024, the budget was 1.5, and 2024-2025 was 1.7, making a total of 4.6. The actual amount received by the school capitation is as follows. 2022-2023, they received 3,965,812. The component for repair, maintenance, and improvement was 1,105,000. In the year 2023-2024, they received 4,559,530. The component for repairs, maintenance, and improvement was 821,750. The year 2024-25, they received 3,381,581. The component for repairs, maintenance, and improvement was 797,250. So the total component for repairs, maintenance, and improvement was 2,224,000 in those 3 years. Thus, the school received a total of 11,912,932 as capitation, from which 2.9 million was to be transferred to the infrastructure account. In addition, the school received 1.5 million from the ministry as a grant for development, and Kenya shillings 1,576,440 for CBC classrooms. Thus, the school received a total of 6,440,000 in that material period for infrastructure. However, it has been established that these funds were not utilized for infrastructure improvement alone. Instead, the funds were utilized in operations without the requisite authority from the County Director of Education. The ministry has commissioned a comprehensive investigation into the matter to inform further action. Number 3, the ministry issues guidelines to schools on the utilization of capitation, including the component on repair and maintenance as infrastructure. Through our field officers, county and sub-county directors of education, and internal audit unit, we strive to ensure that the funds are utilized in accordance with the guidelines. Instances of non-compliance are subjected to appropriate remedial action in accordance with the facts of each case. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Does Honorable Rueda Obo confirm the responses are satisfactory?
Nashukuru Bwana Spika. Majibu ni mazuri kutoka kwa waziri. Amenipatia information zaidi, lakini kuna masikitiko ni kwamba hiyo pesa kule imekuwa ni kama maintenance, ni kama inategemea tu mbunge. Ndio maana nikaleta hapa. Imekuwa kama kioo cha dirisha, au dirisha ikiharibika kitu kidogo, haifanywi, inangojea paka CDF ije ifanye repair au ifanye renovation. So skuli nyingi sasa imekuwa huwezi kuendelea mengine mbele, wewe unaendelea mengine kujenga, pengine madarasa yanahitajika, labs zinahitajika, lakini huku walimu kama Kizingitini. Sahihi shule ina shida na nalaumika mbunge kwa sababu haina madirisha, upepo ni mwingi. Na madirisha yalikuweko. Sasa sisi tutakuwa kitu kidogo kiharibika paka turudi kwa CDF. Mimi nilikuwa naomba wizara iangalie mambo haya kwa sababu inaturegesha nyuma sana. Lakini waziri pia hapo imeonesha, wewe mwenyewe umeona, Kizingitini imepata 1.5 grant, na ambapo kuna shule zingine hapa Kenya tumeona wakipata milioni 100. Kwa hivyo angalia wewe mwenyewe katika hiyo kujibu swali lako, imeonesha hapo udhaifu na sisi vile tunavyonyanyaswa sehemu zetu. Na shule zile ni maskini, huwezi kuzifananisha na shule za town. Sasa utafuta mipangilio ya kuhakikisha shule kama zile zimepata pesa ya kutosha. Kama sababu umesema katika jibu lako kwamba zimetumika kwa upande wa operation, ni ukweli wakiandika hawana walimu. Wakiandika walimu wanatumia pengine pesa hiyo hiyo. So umeona tabu tulizonazo kwa hizi shule. Kwa hivyo ningetarajia ukija hapa wakati mwingine useme nimepeleka Kizingitini milioni 100 kama kule Alliance au na kwingine inapopelekwa. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Obo. I've allowed you to say that much because of where you come from. The last joyrider will be the Honorable Julius Sunkuli will take precedence. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, just to emphasize on the question of Honorable Rueda, can the Minister consider making a visit to some of the schools to actually ascertain for himself the fact that capitation funds are actually not applied transparently? Because in many places, you cannot point at a project that has been done by capitation maintenance. And indeed, we can point out from CDF funds that this has been done. And because the National Office of the CDF has a proactive way of ensuring that monies are applied well. Now that this money comes from your office, Mr. Minister, can you find a way of directly ensuring that the transparency is applied in the application of these funds?
The Honorable Makali Mulu, and then lastly, the Honorable Milanya.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, maybe what Honorable Suguri, just to put in another way, is there a system in the ministry which monitors how these resources are used? Because I don't think the minister will be able to go to all the primary schools and secondary schools in Kenya. But is there either a department or a unit which does internal monitoring of how the resources are being used? But on the issue of capitation, Honorable Speaker, the other challenge is, Honorable Speaker, and I think this applies to all of us, even the members of Parliament. You know, we put this money in the budget, Honorable Speaker, but the reality is that Treasury is not releasing this money also to the schools. Is there also a way we can be maybe with the liaison with the ministry? Because to me, I think in terms of prioritization, how the resources flow from Treasury to other ministries and to other sectors, I think, Speaker, the education sector should be given priority number 1 after possibly Parliament, so that after we release money to Parliament, the next sector to get money should be education, because that's what affects most of us, and maybe the third one would be health. But I see an inverse kind of relationship in terms of releasing resources. So we need to enforce the fact that...
Honorable Makali Mulu, I thought this Parliament should come after education and health.
No, you know, Honorable Speaker, what is coming out is now that from what members are saying in terms of CDF, Honorable Speaker, we are doing everything for schools. So even this capitation, when it goes to the teachers, it's only CDF which ends up. When I talk about parliament, I mean the money through the patronage of members. Not the money for our own use here, but patronage of members. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And Honorable Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Makali Mulu is in the Budget Committee. So take his questions very seriously. The Honorable Milanya last on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question regards capitation for junior secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, I'm aware that the ministry has a guideline whereby the government is providing 15,000 for junior secondary schools. But the information on the ground, you find that the head teachers are charging 3,000 per term for junior secondary students. So can the minister provide the regulated school fees for junior secondary so that it's well known, so that parents don't suffer? Because I'm seeing a situation whereby the junior secondary school issue is going to be a problem, because every time we issue bursaries, the junior secondary school parents are also on our case, so they're requesting for bursary. Mr. Speaker, just on a further note on that, can also the minister give us the policy directive they are going to follow to ensure that the guidelines being provided are being followed? Because we have policies in this country, like he has mentioned about the issue of certificates. When you go to the ground, the treatment the parents get from the principal is different. So I promise that they are going to follow up without proper action.
Noted, Honorable Milanya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the question of the amounts that are given schools in terms of the infrastructure for repairs, where we have indicated that the LAM particular schools are indicated they received 1,500,000, and the honorable member was saying there are others that are receiving more. We, as a ministry, would be working towards ensuring that there is a balance and there is equitable distribution of the available resources. And in terms of ensuring that the funds that we release to the schools are utilized for the purpose for which they were released, we have our quality assurance officers and our school audit units that normally audit these funds to ensure that they have been applied. And where we find that they've not been applied properly, action then is taken on a case-per-case basis. The capitation that is given to junior school is around about 15,000, if I'm not wrong, 15,040, 15,740. And there is no requirement for parents to pay more than that, because that is what we normally provide for. So their teachers are not allowed to charge extra levies, and we have policies and we've issued guidelines and we've issued circulars to this effect. Where a head teacher or a principal is found to have flouted and is levying what we are calling illegal levies, then action is taken against them on a case-per-case basis. It is not government policy that they will charge or they would ask for more money. I welcome the suggestion that the education sector budget be given priority and even ring-fenced, so that we are able to ensure that we keep our children and our teachers in school and in class. Thank you for that suggestion.
Cabinet Secretary, before you sit, this money that goes to schools, what percentage of it, or rather is there a definite percentage which goes towards general repair and maintenance, that in terms of oversight, the members here can help the ministry cross-check when they do their general oversight in their constituencies?
Yes, for secondary schools, it's 5,000. Of the money that goes is 5,000 per student that goes for maintenance and repairs for those windows, for whatever is broken. For junior school, it's 4,000 shillings in the 15,000.
Honorable members, you now know what to check in terms of your roles under Article 95. The Honorable Chief Romondo is to ask question number 42 of 2025 on behalf of the member of Kaloleni, the Honorable Paul Katana. The ruling I'm giving, even with this notable presence in the House, is that this question has been responded to. Cabinet Secretary, is the question concerning the failure by various schools to issue certificates. Yes, and I think the Cabinet Secretary was very emphatic and clear on that, and action will be taken. The Member of Parliament for Homa Bay County, the Honorable Dr. Joyce Osogo Bensouda, to ask question number 43 of 2025.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Cabinet Secretary question number 043, 2025. Could the Cabinet, and these questions, they are addressing issues of adult education. Could the Cabinet Secretary indicate whether there exists adult education institution in the country and provide details on the government's policies regarding adult education, including its operational framework and accessibility by marginalized communities? Roman 2, state how many teachers in the country are trained and specialized in adult education, including measures put in place by the ministry to enhance their capacity. Roman 3 outlines steps taken by the government to sensitize and encourage potential students to enroll in adult education program. My three questions are based on bottom-up economy, digital transformation, and also students, teenage mothers drop out from school. Adult education should be taken up seriously. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adult and continuing education has been a national priority since independence. Literacy is essential for sustainable development. Article 43(1)(f) of the Constitution guarantees every person the right to education. In line with this commitment, the Ministry of Education has developed and is implementing policies and guidelines to support the delivery of adult education, continuing education as an integral component of the lifelong learning. The legal framework includes the Basic Education Act 2013, which recognizes adult and continuing education as a critical component within the broader basic education framework. In terms of the policy and strategic framework, the Kenya Vision 2030 prioritizes human capital development and lifelong learning as enablers of national transformation. In the education sector, the sessional paper number 1 of 2019 underscores the need to promote lifelong learning and skills development for youth and adults. The National Education Sector Strategic Plan 2023-2027 outlines strategic interventions to improve access, equity, and quality in adult education. The strategic plan also provides for the review and harmonization of adult and continuing education policies. In addition to this, there is the National Adult and Continuing Education Framework 2010, which provides for concrete policy options on what should be done to overcome the challenges of literacy and numeracy as to enable adult and continuing education play its rightful role in national development. Currently, the ministry has developed the national policy on adult and continuing education to provide an updated policy environment for the governance and coordination of adult and continuing education in the country. At the ministry level, Mr. Speaker, the implementation of the adult and continuing education is coordinated under the Directorate of Adult and Continuing Education within the State Department of Basic Education. The operational framework includes the following. 1, community-based learning centers. These are centers that serve as key delivery points for literacy, numeracy, and lifelong skills training, especially in rural and informal settlements. The Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development has also developed curricula tailored for adult learners, while the Kenya National Examinations Council administers proficiency assessments and certification. The government has also continued to recruit and capacity build adult education officers, instructors, and facilitators to ensure quality delivery of services. There is also monitoring and evaluation through a structuring, monitoring, and evaluation framework that is in place to track learner enrollment, completion, and progression, feeding the National Education Data System such as NEMIS. The government has prioritized the inclusion of marginalized and underserved populations in adult and continuing education programming. This is through various interventions like mobile learning units and integration with alternative provision of basic education and training programs, development of inclusive learning materials, and deployment of specialized instructors to enhance participation, strengthening partnerships with civil society and faith-based organizations to expand reach and accessibility, specific efforts to address barriers faced by women, youth, and elderly learners, including flexible learning schedules and sensitization campaigns in a bid to promote gender and age inclusion. And lastly, integration of digital literacy and vocational training to improve employability and livelihoods among adult learners. In addition to this, Mr. Speaker, we have rolled out recognition of prior learning to provide a framework for the recognition of informal skills and competencies gained through experience. Currently, Mr. Speaker, there are 148,341 adults enrolled in institutions countrywide. Part 2. The Directorate of Adult and Continuing Education in the State Department for Basic Education is responsible for adult education instructors. There are two categories of adult education instructors. We have full-time and part-time instructors. The full-time instructors are employed by the Public Service Commission of Kenya on a permanent and pensionable basis and work full-time. The total number of full-time instructors in the country is 797. They are trained in adult education and andragogy in teacher certificate in adult education, diploma education, adult education and community development, Bachelor of Education, Adult Education and Community Development, and Masters in Education and Adult Education. The part-time instructors are engaged by the government on a voluntary and temporary basis. They work for 2 hours per day for 3 days a week. They are paid a token of appreciation called honorarium for the work done for 10 months in a year. Funds for payment of honoraria for these instructors are channeled through the county directors of education. To enhance the capacity of the instructors, the Directorate regularly conducts in-service training. The Ministry also approves courses for those who wish to undertake further studies. The instructors are encouraged to undertake self-sponsored short promotional courses. Part 3. In order to encourage potential students to enroll for adult education programs, the Directorate undertakes various activities such as the International Literacy Day, held annually in September in all the 47 counties, the Learners Week, held a day to the International Literacy Day, community mobilization drives through public barazas, publicity through print and electronic media, and advocacy and through established community learning centers, known as community libraries, which cater for lifelong learning. We have also set up adult education desks in all Huduma centers to encourage the enrollment for adult education. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Dr. Joyce Osogoben Suda. Any rejoinder?
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to appreciate the fair attempt by the Cabinet Secretary. However, I would want to request the Cabinet Secretary to ensure what he has explained has a lot of value if they are operationalized practically in the community. Implementation. I would therefore request that a tabulation data is provided to the members so that we actually know, because these issues touches and affects us as a country when it comes to issues during election, issues of hustler funds, issues of Mama Mboga, the people who have dropped out from school, those who are supposed to be rehabilitated. If I walk to any Huduma center, I don't think I would find that, just to cite. Equally, if the Huduma center are supposed to be mobile and provide for the services, First of all, they'll talk about we don't have vehicles, we don't have fuel, there is no budget. Could this be operationalized in terms of implementation and a tabulation of similar data disseminated so that some of the challenges we are experiencing as a country can be curbed before we come to the actual problems? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Cabinet Secretary, that is for noting and for further policy refinement. The Honorable Charles Guna, you want to address the matter of adult education?
Yes.
Or a separate issue?
Yeah, it's just a joyriding question.
No, on adult education?
Yes.
No, because if it is not related to adult education, I'll create time for those general questions towards the end.
Okay.
Do we have any person who wants to ride on the matter of adult education? The Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
I've been here the whole day. I just want to find out, I think it's a very good question raised by my colleague. I have not noticed this at all in my constituency, and that's very important because those days, Mr. Speaker, we saw this program when we were very young, but it's vetted out. How do I know, for example, that my constituency in my county is there? Because I've not seen that at all. So it's very important, and so we can be able to see if it's twice a week, we should be able to know, and at which places. I've not seen that in my constituency.
The Honorable Cabinet Secretary, any further or additional policy guidelines you want to issue or clarify on the matter?
Mr. Speaker, I'm well guided that we need to provide the data so that we can show where the centers in these constituencies on these 148,000 that we've indicated that are already in the program, so that we can then work from there. So we'll provide that data to the House so that it can be distributed for all the constituencies. And we take it positively that we need to work on the implementation of the program. And I agree with Mheshimiwa Honorable Ferdinand that when we were young, we could see it. Nowadays, because perhaps we have improved a lot, we do not see it as much because we concentrate on these others, but we'll give it some more publicity so that it can be seen and we can raise it where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. The member for Nakuru County, the Honorable Lisa Chelule, to ask question number 045 of 2025. Who is that honorable member? 044.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Ask question number 44 of 2025, the member for Kiambu, the Honorable Wachowa Itaka.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I was wondering why you had jumped my question.
I regret the oversight.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 044 of 2025. Could the Cabinet Secretary confirm that the Ndigwa Primary School, established in 2006, has no room for expansion and lacks crucial facilities such as a playground? And if so, state what steps the ministry is taking to address the issue. Question number 2, outline the criteria used by the ministry to allocate infrastructure funds to public schools and indicate when schools in Kiambu constituency, particularly those facing infrastructure deficits, will receive funding to improve learning facilities. Number 3, provide a report on the number of public schools in the country that lack playgrounds, the reasons for the deficiency, and the specific interventions by the ministry to ensure that all schools have the essential facilities for students' learning and development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tindigwa Primary School in Kiambu Sub-County sits on 3/4 of an acre. Classrooms and administration offices occupy a big portion of the land, leaving a small portion that is inadequate to be used as a playfield. The space that is left is equivalent to 1/4 of an acre. The school's population is rapidly growing and requires more land for future expansion. Currently, the school's enrollment stands at 815 learners. Since there is no playground, learners are sometimes taken to facilities away from the school in order to access playgrounds for various co-curricular activities. The ministry is currently engaging with stakeholders on the possibility of addressing the space limitation through acquisition of additional land. Part 2, infrastructure funds, Mr. Speaker, are disbursed to schools across the country based on an infrastructure needs assessment, equitable distribution, and the availability of funds. Schools with poor infrastructure that seek to benefit from the funds make a request to the Ministry of Education through the Sub-County Director of Education. The application details the infrastructure conditions of the school, the enrollment, and the estimates of the infrastructural needs. Additional supporting documents such as bills of quantities, assessment reports, and recommendations and photographs may also be provided. The boards of management also provide minutes indicating the infrastructure needs. These applications are then forwarded to the ministry for consideration. A school would then be allocated funds if the ministry determines that there is justifiable need and that the school deserves the requested intervention subject to availability of funds. In determining the allocation of funds, the ministry seeks to ensure that the resources are equitably distributed, noting the different levels of school infrastructure development and enrollment in the various parts of the country. Other than the foregoing criteria, some schools are funded under the Emergency Response Fund if they have been befallen by calamities. Such schools may make an appropriate application for consideration, or they may be identified by the ministry through its field officers. Projects in schools that are funded under the Infrastructure Improvement and Emergency Fund have to be fully completed. Refunding can only be provided if the school writes through the Sub-County Director of Education to ascertain the state and stage of completion of such projects. This ensures there are no stalled projects and that there is value for money. We wish to indicate, however, that for the last 2 financial years, the ministry has not received any pool funds to support schools applying for infrastructural grants. Mr. Speaker, the ministry also provides infrastructure grants based on the public participation projects as decided by the constituency stakeholders and scheduled in the budget printouts by the National Treasury. In the financial year 2024-2025, for example, Nachu Primary School in Kiambu has been allocated Kenya shillings 5 million. Part 3, Mr. Speaker, the preliminary report on the number of public schools in the country that lack playground is provided in appendix number 3. And we have provided that appendix. Perhaps the clerk would provide to the members. The interventions that have been undertaken vary on the circumstances of each school. Generally, schools in densely populated urban areas lack space for expansion. In such cases, we have worked an arrangement for sharing facilities between proximate institutions and also relying on available public stadia. In rural areas and areas that still have land for expansion available, we are exploring support from partners, especially the National Government Constituency Development Fund, to support the acquisition of additional land. In the meantime, the affected schools share facilities with adjacent institutions or rely on available public amenities. I submit.
The Honorable Waitaka, the response of the Cabinet Secretary is already with the table, the clerk's table here. You can get it and pursue in detail those recommendations. Do you have any further clarifications you need?
Yes, yes, Mr. Speaker. The CS has said that there are plans to see what can be done to get the school more facilities. I would like to inform the CS that just across the school, there is 1 acre available, and the landowner there is willing to sell the land. So I think the CS can start there.
Honorable Waitaka.
Yes.
I told you to pick the response in hard copy
Yes.
Of the PS to your question from the clerk's office here,
I was just-
or from the table.
Yes.
In that response, if I heard the CS clearly, he has stated what steps you need to take
Yes.
as an institution or as a representative if you have to get the kind of benefit you are seeking. It is not just that there is land, but the CS has guided on what further steps ought to be made and with what officers, so that interventions, if it were to come from the ministry, is made. Would that be satisfactory?
Well guided. Well guided.
Thank you. The Honorable Basil Turaid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the CS for a very comprehensive response to several questions. My question is to tell us the criteria used to disburse funds for JSS classrooms, because you can find some schools got 29 JSS classrooms while others got 64. So what criteria do you use to disburse these funds? Thank you.
The Honorable Dr. James Nyikal, your intended question relates to the matter of purchase of additional parcels of land for schools with inadequate land.
About issues relating to schools.
No, schools is very general.
It is.
I want a joyrider.
It is related.
Yes, the Honorable Dr. James Nyikal, let us hear you.
Mr. Speaker, I've been sitting here, and most of the questions are relating to individual issues in schools, except probably the last one that is coming. And then it begs the question, how is it that people have to come to as high as Parliament and the Minister to ask for questions that are relating to management of individual schools? What is the monitoring mechanism and the inspection system that would bring these issues to the attention of the ministry so that these are solved, or get them solved at a lower level? We can't have the minister coming here to address individual school issues. Policy issues related to that, it earlier said, and it's related to that, he earlier said that in terms of certificates, there are processes and so on. This Sunday, I'll be in Seme, and I'm sure there are people I told that we are looking at this matter, and I'm lucky the minister's here. What am I going to tell the parents that come that their certificates of their kids have been held? Practical issues that I go, if you go to this person, you will get it done. Because I think that is what people are looking at. Thank you.
The Honorable Nyikal, I don't think Parliament sits in vain. The cabinet secretaries are given this platform so that most of these policy positions on critical things like certificates can be spoken from Parliament to the nation as they watch. I think we need to direct the people we represent as members of Parliament whose certificates are held to approach the institutions holding them. And if there is a problem, we need to have the understanding that the ministry is devolved. We have sub-county education officers, we have county education officers. Let that complaint be taken down there for action. But I don't think we should be in our right place as members of Parliament, honorable members, to be the ones raising doubt as to whether the policy directives given will be enforced or otherwise. Ours is to ensure it is enforced and to assist the ministry to also pursue the sanctions proffered. The Honorable Cabinet Secretary is that MP for Turkana Central? You will be the last to joyride on this. Please ask your question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think this issue of infrastructure, enrollment, and all these other matters, mine is on the schools in Turkana Central that have been submerged by the rising waters of Lake Turkana. I have raised statements here, I have written letters to the ministry. These schools that were submerged, their students or pupils are no longer in school. They are either fishing or getting into other livelihoods. Honorable Speaker, my question is, the school called Natole Primary School, a school called Katula Primary School, a school called Merrier Primary School, and a school called Nangolpus Primary School have all been submerged. And Honorable Speaker, the rule on the 3 kilometers required by UNESCO has never been achieved in Turkana Central. Meaning, when these schools were submerged, the nearest school could be more than 10 kilometers away, or even 15. What is the ministry doing to ensure that these schools are actually constructed? I have been able to do one with the CDF funds, 5 classrooms, one of the schools, called Ngimure Primary School. Number 2, Honorable Speaker, if there are schools that went to the close, maybe the nearest school that was 5 kilometers away, like Natole Primary School, and the settlements were actually destroyed because people moved away, what is the ministry doing to ensure that these schools are also receiving food, school feeding food, program food? So because the livelihoods of most of these families were affected. Honorable Speaker, that is why I've been here since.
Thank you.
And I need an answer from the minister. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, MP, for Turkana Central. I've given you special leeway because of the nature of Turkana. The Honorable Cabinet Secretary, if you have a response from the MP for Turkana, and if you could clarify on the matter the Honorable Dr. Nyikal was raising and the other members in a minute or two. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of the certificates that the Honorable Dr. Nyikal raises, as I said, the period that we gave for the head teachers to release the certificates expire next week. After that expiry, our officers on the ground will collect data of which principals and which head teachers have refused to release the certificates to the students. We will then deal with them. That's why I said we'll take action after that, because we gave them 14 days to respond and comply. And if they do not comply, we'll take the data, and that is the point at which we'll take action. So the parents that would come to you, let them confirm to the sub-county directors of education that they've gone to primary school A or secondary school B, and they've been denied the certificate, and we'll have that record. The sub-county officers and county officers will be going through the whole country to collect that data. I know some counties where they are fully complied. I also know others who have said they are not going to comply. So we are waiting for those, and we'll deal with them. I know they've been thinking that we'll not take action, but we are going to take action because it is unconstitutional and it is illegal. And Kenya is a country of laws. They are not going to be left undealt with. With respect to the schools that have been submerged, as I had indicated earlier, for the last 2 years, we haven't received any infrastructure funds. That perhaps is the reason why we've not been able to rebuild the schools that were submerged in Turkana. What we are now doing is try to work with other government institutions like the Ministry of Interior and the military to assist us in those emergency situations, to assist us in rebuilding those schools. So we'll put those schools in that program, even though we don't have funds at the moment, to see that they are done so that the students get back to school. On the school feeding program, those schools, if they were in the...
Cabinet Secretary, before you leave that part, you know the terrain and the nature of Turkana Central, and generally Turkana. It is one region and one constituency which is already marginalized. In terms of intervening for that part of Kenya so that they also don't lose on everything in terms of marginalization, what kind of intervention or special arrangement can be made to secure that the affected students have somewhere to go back to school? And I'm asking this Cabinet Secretary, knowing this was not a question on the order paper, if there is no response it coming in the manner it has come, could a meeting even with a member of parliament for the ministry to understand the concerns of the people and to explore solution deeper be necessary or possible?
Yes, it is concerning. So what we are going to suggest is that if the member of parliament would come to the office, then we sit together and work around to see whether there is some emergency intervention that we can do even with other ministries so that we can resolve that matter. If you can kindly make time to come to the office and we discuss that issue. On the issue of the JS classrooms, the assessment that was done as to what number of classrooms each school would get was based on the number of students in grade 8. So the mathematics was on the basis of a classroom would take between 40 and 50 students. So if you had 100 students in grade 8, then you would be allocated 2 classrooms. That was the basis of the differences in the various classrooms. It's based on the number of enrollment on the students in grade 8. I submit.
The last question by the Member of Parliament for Nakuru County, the Honorable Lisa Chelule, MP. Question number 045 of 2025. This is a very sensitive question. Cabinet Secretary, did you have a written response to this particular question? Yes. I'm asking this for the reason that we host a special school somewhere in my constituency, and this is very pertinent.
I have a written answer. If you want, I can go through it.
I would request that if you have a written response, the member being absent, we request that a copy of your response, Cabinet Secretary, be dropped with the clerk. And let that copy, clerical team, be delivered to the member and all members who are interested under the standing orders.
We'll do that, Mr. Speaker, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We are at the end of questions. Was there a statement by Honorable? The Honorable Basil, what is it? Was this question approved?
Thank you, Speaker. There's a question that I had shared with the Speaker, and it was approved this morning, but it was not in the list, so that's the question I want to ask. So could the CS explain why TSC halted or delayed further payments for the retired teachers? I'm talking about 6,000 retirees who retired between 1997 and 2007, whose computations remain pending despite the High Court's ruling on October 17, 2019 in Judicial Review Application number 18 of 2012, which clarified their entitlement to pension and gratitude based on negotiated salary increments and published in Gazette Notice number 534 of 1997, and despite the reported disbursement of Kenya shillings 16.08 billion to 22,022 retired teachers by May 2023. This issue, Mr. Speaker, has remained for quite some time. teachers, the court said they should be paid, but they were never remunerated. So it would be important if the CS can actually give us some clarity to be able to assist those retirees who are actually grappling in poverty and who are struggling to be able to meet their basic needs. Thank you.
The Honorable Robert Basil, I'm informed the question was approved, but it arrived at the table a bit late, and so it was not forwarded in time to the CS, and it is therefore not on the order paper. Unless the CS, for some reason, has a response, I want to... Do you have a response?
What I could suggest is that we'll receive the question, we'll do a written answer, and then through the relevant committee, it can be submitted to the honorable member.
Yes, so thank you. So Honorable Robert Basil, let that question already approved go through the normal processes. And arrangements will be made for the Cabinet Secretary to be back to the House in good time to respond before those Kenyans affected are so adversely affected. Honorable members, there is a statement. The Honorable Jane Kagiri. You hear a statement?
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44 2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson.
Honorable Jane Kagiri. I thought your statement concerned the Cabinet Secretary for Education. Honorable members, because of the other pending businesses, we have to transact. The chair of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, it is very important to acknowledge that as the CS answers these questions, the members of the public are also following very closely and with a lot of interest. That makes the work of this House transparent, and we don't have to belabor to say what was said. A constituent has referred me to question number 018 of 2025 in respect of what is termed as Duksi and Madrasa, because the response the CS gave was that plans and programs are at high gear to ensure that it is agreed these programs are introduced to all schools in the country. The question they're asking is this: Duksis and madrasas are basically on Islamic religion and faith. While we appreciate that in our country we have the Christian religious education and the Islamic religious education, which are approved curriculum programs, we're worried whether these do qualify for the statement that they will be introduced in all schools. That's the clarification we are being asked to make.
The Honorable Cabinet Secretary is a senior counsel, just as the Honorable George Gitonga Murugara. Normally we would say Parliament is functus officio on that question. But Honorable Cabinet Secretary, just for clarity, if you have something to say. Yeah.
I proceed. As I indicated, there are policies and guidelines that are being developed which will take into account how those programs will be rolled out, so that it may not be in the whole of the national schools, or even when it is in the whole of the national schools, it will not be that everybody will take the course. It will be for those perhaps who are qualified. So it is something that is being developed to ensure that we meet the obligations of the Constitution and the obligations of the Basic Education Act that has provided that we set that up. So that is why we are doing policies and guidelines to ensure that there is integration, but there is no interference. So that is what is going on, so that once the public participation, once the guidelines are done, the policies are done, they'll be subjected to public participation before they are finalized. That's why I indicated those timelines, so that each and everybody's take would be taken into account.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Cabinet Secretary, before you make your final remarks on matters policy around the education, allow me to permit the Honorable Charles Nguna to raise an issue of general policy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 15 constituencies committed 10 million financial year 2023-2024 to construct technical institutes, TVETs. And these projects have stalled in most of the constituencies. What is the ministry doing to ensure that their commitment they wrote to us, that they have completed this project, including the Mwingi West Technical Institute, which we actually contributed 10 million, and you've not provided the money you committed to provide. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Mawade, what is the matter?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the CS of Education is, your predecessor had promised to purchase a piece of land in Imaradaima for TVET. I just wanted to ask you, what are we doing, or rather, what will you do in order to be able to purchase that piece of land that previously belonged to KPLC and in Imaradaima to construct a TVET?
The Honorable Wilberforce Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As the CS was answering a question, I received a request here to ask, and I do so on behalf of my constituents who say, hello, Mheshimiwa, please help ask about localization of teachers. Some of us are still localized in faraway counties. Please, I am reading verbatim as a people's representative.
The Honorable Sigei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to ask our minister, our CS, the issue of JSS. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, we have so many schools which are far apart, and the students have to travel long distances, Mr. Speaker. And I've written to the Ministry of Education, asking them to ensure that they give these schools which qualify to have JSS. Chair, that is, Mr. Speaker, that's a serious issue. Last week I was in the
I get you, the Honorable Sigei.
Yes, thank you.
The Honorable Toritich.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to ask the CS whether is aware that projects funded under the SECIP program, that is Secondary Education Quality Improvement Projects, have been riddled with corruption. Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether the CS knows that those projects funded under SECIP, some have been abandoned, some have not taken off, and some projects actually have collapsed midway. Honorable Speaker, this is a serious fraud that I hope the CS is aware that the SECIP program in this country is under threat.
Thank you. The Honorable Cabinet Secretary, make your final remarks to the House. Those questions which have been asked lately, for which you have responses, please let us have the responses. If they would require a more substantive response in future, please indicate so, but then make your final remarks that we can discharge you.
So, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to come to the House and respond to members' concerns and the public. I just want to say that I'm quite grateful from members of Parliament, and also to thank you for the kind of support you've given to the ministry in terms of the infrastructure development that you've done in the various constituencies that we've visited, where you've done a good number of classrooms and other infrastructure. And we pray that we'll continue with that collaboration, with that support, because these are all our children. and we'll do everything possible as a ministry to ensure that the partnership continues and bears fruit. On the issue of Imaradaima TVET, I will find out what the status of that purchase is, and then we'll get back to you on it, because I don't have the data or the facts relating to that particular question. On the issue of registration of the JSS schools that are far apart, the initial registrations was done based on a certain criteria. That criteria is being reviewed, and as you apply for registration, we are doing continuous registration of JSS as we meet the criteria. So that registration is ongoing. We'll not deny them the registration if they meet the required criteria in terms of numbers, and we are reducing also the distances. The issue of localized teachers, I would say that program was being implemented by TSC. We would find out why perhaps that has not been completed, but it is a process that is ongoing. The SEQUI program is a program that was started some times back, and it is true that some of the projects that they were doing have stalled and have not been completed. There is an audit that is ongoing, and once we have that audit that is both physical and otherwise, we'll then make a decision on how to proceed, on how to complete those projects and what is going to be done with the issues related to any fraud or corruption that might have happened leading to their collapse. So all in all, I'm grateful for your support, and I'm available for any clarifications that the members might require to continue serving Kenyans together. So thank you, and God bless you.
Honorable members, that brings us to the end of the part of our business on questions. Cabinet Secretary, let me register the gratitude of the House for your being available to respond to these matters of concern to the country. If you're needed in future, again, you note so many questions are coming up, even on the back of the ones which had been remitted to you. So always be available. The House is pleased by the manner you engage as a ministry that is so critical for our national progress. You are discharged from the House with your team, and we wish you well in your other state duties outside of the House. Thank you. The Honorable Jane Kagiri can now proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 42-2C, I raise to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations regarding the status of investigations into the death of Ms. Agnes Wanjiku Wanjiru. Honorable Speaker, Ms. Agnes Wanjiku Wanjiru, a 21-year-old who lived near the Nanyuki base of British Army Training Unit, Kenya, was allegedly murdered by British soldiers in the year 2012. Her body was discovered in a septic tank at a hotel in Nanyuki town, nearly 3 months after she purportedly spent an evening with officers from the unit. In 2018, an inquest undertaken in Kenya found that Ms. Wanjiru was murdered by a British soldier. Sadly, no one has been charged or prosecuted in relation to her death, which occurred more than 13 years ago. At the time of her death, Ms. Wanjiru was the mother of a 5-month-old child who continues to suffer the consequences of this injustice. The family has severally sought justice for the death of their loved one without success, leaving them in distress and in anguish. Honorable Speaker, in 2024, the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations conducted an inquiry into the operations of Batuk in Kenya, including the death of Ms. Wanjiru. However, the report on the inquiry has never been tabled in this House. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on the following. A report on the status of investigations into the tragic death of Ms. Agnes Wanjiku Wanjiru, who was allegedly murdered in 2012 by a British soldier attached to the British Army Training Unit in Kenya. Number 2, steps taken by the Ministry of Defense to expedite the arrest, extradition, and prosecution of the suspect. Number 3, the measures put in place by the government to ensure that justice is served, including compensation to the family and an indication on when the report of the committee on the inquiry will be tabled for consideration by the House. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Come again? Where is the chair on defense and foreign relations? I thought, And there is no, whip is not here, leader of the